The cabin in the rain. The rain poured relentlessly, drumming against the windshield of the old van. Trees loomed on either side of the narrow forest road, their branches twisting like skeletal fingers in the darkness. The headlights barely cut through the fog, and the tires slid across the slick pavement. Inside the van, 4 friends argued over their next move. "We're lost, Darren," Emily said, her voice sharp with frustration. She hugged herself, her hoodie offering little protection from the growing cold. "We're not lost," Darren shot back, gripping the steering wheel tighter. "The GPS just isn't working because of the storm. We'll find our way as soon as it clears." "We've been driving in circles for an hour," said Mia from the back seat. She glanced nervously out the window, the dense woods pressing in on them. "What if we run out of gas? We need to stop somewhere." "There's nowhere to stop," Darren snapped. But just as the words left his mouth, the beam of the headlights revealed a structure up ahead, a small, dilapidated cabin. It stood crookedly among the trees, its wooden walls weathered and grey, the roof sagging under the weight of moss and years of neglect. "Perfect," said Adam, who had been silent until now. He leaned forward from the passenger seat, his tone half joking. "Let's spend the night in a haunted house." Emily shot him a glare. "It's not funny." "Well, we don't have much of a choice," Mia said hesitantly. "We can't keep driving in this weather." Darren sighed and pulled the van onto the muddy path leading to the cabin. As they approached, the headlights illuminated the broken windows and the warped wooden door hanging slightly ajar. "This place gives me the creeps," Emily muttered. But the rain was coming down harder, and the chill in the air was biting. Reluctantly, they all agreed to check out the cabin. Darren pushed the door open, its rusted hinges groaning loudly, and they stepped inside. The interior was dark and smelled of mildew. Flashlights revealed a single room with a fireplace, a tattered armchair, and a wooden staircase leading to the second floor. The walls were lined with peeling wallpaper, and the floor creaked ominously beneath their feet. "Home sweet home," Adam said, plopping down on the armchair. "Don't touch anything," Emily warned. "This place could be infested with who knows what." Darren started gathering wood from a pile near the fireplace. "Let's get a fire going. We'll stay here for the night and leave at first light." As the fire crackled to life, the room felt slightly less oppressive, but the unease lingered. Mia sat close to the fire, shivering, while Emily explored cautiously. She stopped near the staircase, shining her flashlight upward. "Anyone else hear that?" she asked suddenly. "Hear what?" Darren replied. "Footsteps," Emily whispered. "Upstairs." Everyone froze. For a moment, the only sound was the rain pounding against the roof. Then, faint but unmistakable, came the sound of something heavy dragging across the floor above them. Adam laughed nervously. "It's probably just the wind or an animal. This place is falling apart." But Emily didn't look convinced. "Let's just stay down here," Mia said quickly. They all agreed, though the tension in the room was palpable. As the night wore on, the fire dimmed, and exhaustion began to take hold. Darren and Mia dozed off near the hearth, while Emily sat against the wall, her flashlight clutched tightly in her hand. Adam was the only one still awake, staring at the staircase with a frown. Finally, He stood up. "I'm just gonna check it out," he said quietly. Emily grabbed his arm. "Are you insane? Stay here. I'll be quick," Adam insisted. "If something's up there, I want to know what we're dealing with." Before she could stop him, he started up the creaking stairs. Adam's footsteps echoed above as he moved across the second floor. "It's just an empty room," he called down after a moment. But then, silence. "Adam?" Emily called, her voice trembling. No response. She stood, her heart pounding. "Adam, stop messing around." The silence stretched on, thick and suffocating. Darren and Mia woke to the sound of Emily's frantic voice. "What's going on?" Darren asked groggily. "Adam went upstairs and hasn't come back," Emily said, panic rising in her chest. Darren grabbed the flashlight and started toward the stairs. "Stay here," he said firmly. "No way," Emily said. "We're not splitting up." Together, the three of them ascended the stairs, the air growing colder with each step. At the top, they found a single room with a dusty wooden floor and a cracked window. But Adam was nowhere to be seen. "Adam!" Darren shouted, but his voice was swallowed by the oppressive silence. Something was wrong. The room felt wrong. The shadows seemed to twist and shift, and the walls seemed closer than they should have been. "We need to leave," Mia whispered, her voice barely audible. But as they turned to go back downstairs, the door slammed shut behind them. Panic set in. Darren pounded on the door, but it wouldn't budge. Emily's flashlight flickered, casting erratic beams of light across the room. Then the sound started again, the dragging, scraping noise, but this time it was coming from within the walls. "It's the house," Mia whispered, tears streaming down her face. "It doesn't want us to leave." Emily turned toward the window, desperate for an escape, but what she saw outside made her blood run cold. The forest was gone. Instead, an endless void of darkness stretched beyond the glass. "This isn't real," Darren muttered, shaking his head. "This can't be real." But it was. One by one, the room began to take them. Mia screamed as the shadows wrapped around her, pulling her into the floor. Darren tried to fight, but the walls seemed to come alive, swallowing him whole. Emily was the last one left. She clung to the window frame, her mind racing. In a final act of desperation, she smashed the glass with her flashlight and climbed out onto the roof. The rain hit her like icy needles, but she didn't stop. She jumped to the ground, landing hard, and ran into the forest without looking back. The cabin loomed behind her, its windows glowing faintly like eyes watching her escape. Emily was found the next morning by a passing car, soaking wet and trembling. She tried to explain what had happened, but no one believed her. Weeks later, she returned to the area with a search party, determined to find her friends. But when they reached the spot where the cabin had stood, there was nothing but trees. No cabin, no road, just the forest. But Emily knew the truth. The cabin was still out there, waiting for its next visitors.